I'm Umbreon Libris, and welcome to Tin Tower Talks. So today we're going to talk about something that I think almost every Pokemon fan has had some level of experience with, shiny Pokemon. And since I don't do like any shiny hunting or almost any shiny hunting, I've invited two people who spend a lot more time thinking about shiny Pokemon and hunting for them than I do. So hello, BeasEasel.
Hello, I'm B. I have a YouTube channel. I do Pokemon artwork stuff, but I like shiny hunting a lot, just in free time and stuff. So.
And hello, Maniac Charon.
Hi. Well, basically what I do is I obsess about Pokemon. I analyze them to death, and occasionally I make Fakemon, less now than I did previously. But yeah, I mostly play the video games and just put artworks in interesting montages for myself to look at. Also, I rarely stream, but that's... Yeah.
I have noticed that. Tell me a little bit more about what you think is interesting about shiny Pokemon. Why do you spend time hunting for them? And actually, do you consider yourselves shiny hunters? Like, is that a label that you use for yourselves?
Yes, yeah, in short, yes. But I think there is different levels of shiny hunting. There you have what I would call passive shiny hunting, which is just like soft resetting a legendary, which you can do while watching a movie or whatever else, as long as you have a hand free. And then there is active shiny hunting, where you have certain methods that require more attention, like the Poké Radar in Generation 4. And I did that a lot in Generation 4 in particular, but more recently with the last two generations it was mostly just passive soft resetting.
How about you, B?
I think it's like something special, like you can kind of work towards, and especially after playing Pokemon for so many years, it's like I want to do something more than just like fill the Pokedex and beat the game and stuff. I want to like do the next step.
Mm-hmm. I've gotten to the point where I have a living dex of the regular forms. And obviously, with every new generation, with every new game, the point is to add the new Pokemon to that. But then when it's only one generation at a time, that's like a fairly easy task. So going after shiny Pokemon is definitely something that I have done, and like not exactly trying to replace my living dex with a shiny living dex, but kind of complement it. But I just do not have the patience to like sit and do like legendary soft reset. I barely have the patience to do a Masuda method hunt. So that's quite a bit of time that you have to put into it. So Charon, you mentioned passive shiny hunting. Is that what you do most of? Like in terms of like how much time you spend on it, is that what you spend most of the time on?
Yeah, that's definitely what takes the most time, but it's like I'm watching a movie or I'm taking a train or something, so I'm doing it on the side. For me, it's like I'm putting the time I'm spending doing something else and getting extra stuff out of it, in this case, shinies. So it's not like I'm wasting the time specifically for the shiny in that case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, I rarely, or rather, I never hunt shinies just for a collection as trophies. For me, it's mostly because I actually want to use them in competitive battles.
Right.
So it's the different color that's appealing to me. So it looks better on my team, and it makes my party members more special that I use in battles.
Right, and I know that you've spent quite a bit of time shiny hunting for legendaries, where you actually find a shiny, but then give up on it because it doesn't have good enough stats or something.
Yeah, the first time I did that was in Omega Ruby, where I was resetting all the legendaries anyway because I wanted to have each one with viable stats and nature. And then eventually I had the whole collection, and I was catching some additional ones, like on Alpha Sapphire, like I had a second Entei with a different nature or whatever. And then I figured, well, maybe I could just soft reset the Raikou until it was shiny, because it would take a similar amount probably anyway. Like when I soft resetted thunderous until I had it with hidden power ice. That's relatively similar time and effort you have to put in to get it. And then I finally got the shiny Raikou. It didn't even take that long, like 2 days, I think. But it had like adamant nature and the worst IVs, so I was like, I can just reset the game and get the second one. Unfortunately, luck wasn't on my side, so it took like 17 shiny Raikous until I was satisfied with one. And that one still has a wasted perfect IV in attack, but yeah.
B, have you done that? Have you given up on a shiny to try to get a better stat or something like that?
No, I'm very much because even if I find a shiny and I'm like, I'd want a better one, even if it was a legendary I could only get once, I'd just replay the game so I could get another one because I would never want to give up on a shiny. I've only ever failed a couple of them, just stupid ones, so I would never want to lose a shiny. I'm just like, I found it. A lot of the time, I'm trying to get a shiny living deck, so I am trying to get all of them, but some of them I'm specifically hunting with certain stats for like my team and stuff, so just depends.
Do you use any shortcuts for that, for like trying to get the right stats?
Well, yeah,
stuff like using Synchronize and Cute Charm and stuff like that, I guess.
Right. I'm thinking of shortcuts that don't necessarily that aren't like 100% within the game. Do you know of breeding Dittos? Do you know what that is?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so rather early in the X and Y period, I did use the breeding Dittos, which are just Dittos with full IVs, and it just makes breeding easier. But once you get enough regular Pokemon with like 5 perfect IVs, you can just use those instead of Dittos anyway. So It's not that much of a shortcut. It's just a quick starting point, I would say. It's an easy start into breeding.
Yeah, exactly, because you can very quickly get to that 5 or 6 IV minimum, I guess.
With the Destiny Knot.
Like every time that well, not every time, but a lot of the times that I've done a Masuda Method hunt, I used a breeding Ditto at some point in the process. And it's not because I necessarily want to battle with do online battles, because I rarely do online battles, but I feel like I'm doing a Masuda Method hunt. Like it's going to take longer than any hunt that I really care to do, or probably it will. Like I've had hunts that take like 30 eggs, but I've also had at least 2 hunts that I was like I really wanted to get those Pokemon, and then it took like 1,500, 2,000 eggs kind of thing.
Yeah.
So this is already way more time than I want to spend on this. I'm going to get the shiny. I know that I'm going to go that far. I might as well get one that is strong, right?
Yeah. I feel like there was this change after Generation 3, or rather until Generation 4, shinies were just something you had no control over. It was a random, wow, luck, I got a shiny, and it's like, yeah, it is what it is, put it in the PC, it's a trophy. But then as more methods get introduced, and the Masuda method and stuff, yeah, you could start actually getting viable shinies, and that made them actually appealing to me.
Right. I mean, technically, there was already a very good method right in Generation 2, because in Generation 2, if you bred a shiny, because shininess was tied to IVs, there was about a 1 in 60-something chance that the offspring would be shiny as well. And because you get that shiny Gyarados as part of the story, you have a good starting point, and you can build from there. I personally took the Blue Ditto glitch route, where you transfer that Gyarados back into Generation 1 and use a Mimic and Transform and various things to capture a Blue Ditto, and then you bring it back, and now you have a Ditto. You can pass that shininess onto just about anything. So I've definitely done that a lot. Basically every time I play a Generation 2 game, I do that glitch. But like that's just, for me, that's just a shortcut to get the Pokemon that I want.
Yeah. For
you, do you think that degrades the value of the shiny? Do you see more value in a hunt that takes longer, or or that is full odds or whatever?
I think it's down to like how you feel about the shiny, because like I don't know, there's some hunts I've done that were quite easy and fast, and I'm like, oh, that was great, and I really love this Pokemon. And there's some that took ages and ages, and it doesn't matter what method I do, I'm always excited when I see the shiny. So it's like, yay. I think if they were all too easy, it would start to get like less exciting, but I don't think having the Ditto glitch particularly doesn't make it enough, like easy enough where I feel like it's devalued it. It's just like, this still is taking me hours to hatch these eggs, so
right.
Yeah.
Takes a while.
Basically, there is two of the general factors about shinies that make them special. The first one is just they have a different color, or rather that's the distinguishing part about them. That's what makes them different and how we know they are special. Then the other factor is the rarity. And there it's like if we take the Gyarados from Gold and Silver, for example, everyone has one and it's not that special anymore. So if it was just the color and you could get it at a normal rate, it definitely wouldn't be special. It would be the same as the Flabébé family, for example,
right,
who have different colors. So the rarity is a big factor. But what I like to point out is something B you already touched on, is that shinies are not simply special for the color or the rarity. They are as special as the person obtaining them believes they are, and they are only that special to that particular person. So we all attach our own value to individual shinies for personal reasons, like whether it's the appreciation for the time and effort we spent into getting them, or the method we used, or how strong our wish was to obtain them in the first place. And the interesting thing is that that's true for any unusual Pokemon. So for example, if you reset for something with a particular hidden power, it can be just as special as a shiny to you.
Right, if you're trying to get a specific hidden power type. Yeah, I guess so. It is interesting because for example, I've done a hunt for Eevee, for a shiny Eevee, because obviously I wanted a shiny Umbreon. And that one was a very easy one, but it's Umbreon. So, like, obviously, I am going to keep using it on my team and everything. And I also have very long ones, like Froakie. It was one that took close to 2,000 eggs, because I didn't like actually keep track of how many eggs it took, but it was like I would do them in batches. And so I know that each batch was several hundred, and I did a handful of batches. And that's another one that, like, well, it's a black Greninja, of course I'm going to use it. But then on the other hand, there's, if you shiny hunting through the wormholes in Ultra Sun and Moon, some of those Pokemon look really cool, but it's just, I don't know, like, it's different. Even though you are hunting for those Pokemon, because you are, yeah, exactly, you are trying to get those Pokemon. You keep looking for the wormholes that will have those specific Pokemon. But then when you do find them and maybe they look really good, even though it might have taken about as much time to get the Ludicolo from the wormholes as it took to get the shiny Eevee. And like, obviously I like Eevee, or I like Umbreon a lot more than I like Ludicolo. Like, I feel like the difference is more than that. It's just like, a Ludicolo, it'll sit in my box forever. I have no, like, it looks cool, but I have no attachment to that one.
You need to like the Pokemon first, and then you need to like the shiny coloration for it to be appealing to you.
Right, but I feel like there's also an element of the hunt itself. Like, it can be a Pokemon I like, it can be a shiny that I like. I don't know if maybe it's something to do with the method of the hunt. Maybe just because the odds of shinies are really high in the wormholes, maybe that like takes away from it a little bit.
For the wormholes, it's the high rate and the small number of potential Pokemon you can find as well. Because the wormhole list is very limited, so probably thousands of people have the same Pokemon as shiny from wormhole hunting.
Yeah. And there's also the opposite effect, right? Where if you encounter a completely random shiny, it becomes that much more prominent to you. So
Yeah.
I think my most recent was a Ribombi, and like Ribombi looks cool, but it's just a Ribombi, and then I found a shiny one.
Yeah.
And so like, well, now it's gonna be on my team for the entire duration of the game.
It can make a Pokemon grow on you that you otherwise didn't really pay attention to.
Yeah.
My most recent like random encounter shiny was an Abra, and I didn't have a Master Ball on me.
Oh.
But luckily the Quick Ball did it, so I was like, ooh, I was not ready for that one.
Yeah, the quick balls are often such an overkill, and you think like, oh, Game Freak, why did you make it so easy? But for those cases, they are good.
See, I usually always have Master Balls because I don't really use Master Balls. I only use them on shinies that I think I'm not going to be able to get. Like I had a shiny Ho-Oh, I tried for ages, and it just wouldn't go in any of the Pokeballs, so I eventually had to throw the Master Ball when he started getting into struggle range.
Right.
So I was like...
Yeah, I think I also have on every game I ever played, there is a Master Ball that's gone unused because I have it just for certain situations where a shiny would pop up when I'm not prepared for it or something.
Have either of you shiny hunted in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee?
I haven't got it. I haven't got a Switch yet.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a Switch,
I'm getting one for the new games.
I have a Switch now for 1 week already, but I also don't have Let's Go. It's the only mainline game I never played.
I have probably shiny hunted more, like in terms of number of different Pokemon. I've probably done more in Let's Go than in any other single game. And like the Pokemon that I've gotten were all Pokemon that I actually thought were interesting and wanted to put on my team. And so it was, hey, shiny hunting in this game is really easy. You can do it. Yeah. Like as soon as you get Pokeballs, you can do it. It's kind of difficult at the very beginning because you just don't have enough Pokeballs to like maintain it for very long. But like you can try. And like all of those Pokemon, I actually do still appreciate, even though some of them, like I have a Rapidash that I caught on the 10th. Like I had a chain of 10, or actually it was a chain of 9, and then the 10th one was the shiny one.
Yeah.
But like it's a shiny Rapidash. It looks awesome. You can ride around in it.
A ghost type.
Yeah. So there's this weird thing where the method of the hunt seems to influence how important they are. I think more than the actual rarity of it. I don't know.
Yeah, because certain methods, they also make you feel like you earned the shiny, and others it's just like, okay, I walked up to it and it was shiny.
Right. Maybe
that's
it.
The other thing is balanced out by having to put more time into it if it's like legendaries, but wormholes, it's neither of those. It doesn't take a lot of time and it doesn't take a lot of effort, so they are automatically less valuable.
No, that's a good point. Maybe that's what's the real difference maker. You go to Wormhole, the chances are really high, but you're also not really putting in too much effort into it.
Yeah.
The mini game, once you get used to it, is not that difficult.
Yeah, after you figure out you can change it to the circle path.
Yes. It was doing it with the motion controls, that was tough. But once you change it to the circle pad, it's quite easy.
I also find it easier to do that method when you use Solgaleo instead of Lunala. I think because Lunala's so wide, he's really off-putting to like have on the screen.
Mm-hmm. It covers more of your vision.
Yeah.
I hadn't considered that. I have used both, but I think it was just like, I like Solgaleo better. Like he looks cooler, so I'm gonna go with that one. I
prefer Lunala in looks and stuff, but when it's playing that, I'm like, Solgaleo, please. That's the only one I want to use.
Oh, that's interesting. When it comes to something like event shinies, do you think that degrades the value of that shiny for other people? Charon was saying how he went past 17 shiny Raikos to get the perfect one. I have one from an event.
Yeah, no, I see those as completely separate. Like, for example, right now I'm soft resetting for Poipole, and I already have an event shiny one. So...
Yeah, I got the event one.
But in this case, the Poipole I'm resetting now, it could be modest, whereas the other one was fixed or something.
I'd say with the event ones, I like the big difference with being able to get your own is as well, you can nickname it. You can never nickname the event ones. So I feel more special like being like, I can name this.
Mm-hmm.
And with the event ones, I tend to pick them up and get them, but I replace them as soon as that Pokemon is huntable, because usually it's something that isn't currently huntable.
Right.
And I don't usually want it once it's available for me to get myself. I'd rather just get it myself. So...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you can determine the Pokeball by yourself instead of it being in a Cherish Ball or something. I mean, it's probably comparable to the red Gyarados from Gold and Silver again. Because I also bred for a shiny Magikarp once for competitive battles, and I didn't see it as less valuable just because of the Gold and Silver Gyarados.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever hunted for a shiny that I already had from an event.
I definitely did it with, it hasn't been many, but it was Yveltal and Xerneas, because I got that event, because I actually wanted Yveltal specifically, I wanted, and I remember picking up the event, and it was kind of exciting getting the event one, but then after I found out it was huntable in the new games, I was like, well, new one, time for a better one.
Yeah, because then it's one you actually work for rather than the one you were just given.
Because I feel like the events themselves as well nowadays, they're not like... I feel like old event Pokemon, it was more of like a thing that you did rather than just here's the Pokemon. So I feel like I wish they would at least let us work for the Pokemon even if it was guaranteed shiny.
Yeah, even if it was just the battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, Generation 3 and especially Generation 4, they really like made a big deal out of those event distributions. Even Generation 5 a little bit.
Victini.
I was thinking of the shiny beasts.
Oh yeah, and
where there was something to do with Zoroark.
Yeah, if you brought the shiny beast, you could encounter Zoroark in the Lost Forest.
Yeah.
Is that tied in with the movie?
I think it was, yeah.
And the other one from the same movie was Celebi, and you got Zorua from an NPC if you showed the Celebi to them.
And well, nowadays you just download it and you have it, and there you go. Even when there is something like a little bit more interesting, like a Hoopa in Oraz, or Magearna in Sun and Moon, like both of those you had an interaction with an NPC when you got it, but it was just dialogue.
Yeah, and for Diancie as well in X and Y. Just some guy walks into the Pokemon Center and tells you something about it and then walks out.
He gives you the Mega Stone, doesn't he? After you get Diancie, he's like, oh, here's your Diancite. I'm a random guy.
I definitely feel like that degrades the value of those Pokemon.
Yeah, Mythicals, they were at a high point in Generation 4, and with Victini that kind of ended.
Yeah, but like in terms of shininess, like the shiny Poipole that I got, I made sure to get 2 of them so I could evolve one and like keep one of each. I don't feel like that degrades the value of my Poipole and Naganadel. It's of their shininess, at least. Like obviously it would be more fun to have done a battle or some other kind of story event, but I feel no desire to go shiny hunting for it now. I got it already.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Do either of you play Pokemon Go?
I have not even touched it ever in my life.
All right. Because Pokemon, like shiny Pokemon, are also a lot easier to come by in that game.
Yeah, and they are like, from what I've heard, they are separate from the regular Pokemon, or in somehow they are integrated differently, or they have to be added separately after the regular one is already.
They're like event days they do for them, isn't it? Where they have certain shinies available.
Right. Yeah.
Like
so
that.
there's community days where a particular Pokemon, like usually the starters or some other Pokemon that is prominent in some way, that Pokemon becomes very, very easy to find. And also the shinies of that Pokemon, they're like something like 1 in 20 or something like that. So it is very easy to find those shinies. And like what you try to do, you try to get as many as you can. There's also shinies that are introduced through a particular event, but that aren't necessarily like increased odds. Maybe the encounter rate for that Pokemon is increased, but not necessarily the shiny rate. But even then, like the base rate of shinies is much higher than in the main series games. Now that we can already transfer at least the Generation 1 Pokemon from Pokemon Go to Let's Go, for example, and with Pokemon Home, at least in theory, we'll be able to transfer all of them. We'll be able to collect all of our shiny Pokemon from Pokemon Go into Pokemon Home and possibly bring them into Sword and Shield. And I know that there's people who are like Pokemon Go players, so they will try to keep their collection in Pokemon Go, but not me. I'm using Pokemon Go as a way to quickly get those shinies and put them into the main game.
Yeah.
But do you feel like that will reduce the value of shinies overall? Is it important for shinies to be rare?
I think like to an extent, it's like comes back to the thing on like the personal value you put on that shiny, especially because of like methods now. Shinies are a lot more accessible to a lot of people, so a lot of people will have them. And I do know there is something just about the color itself being different, because I was messing around on an emulator where I played Pokemon Emerald, but all the Pokemon colors were randomized, so they weren't shinies, they were just random colors.
Right.
And I got excited about having different colored Pokemon, even though it wasn't anything rare. It was just like, this Jirachi is purple. And it just felt special still, because it was a different color. So it's all just, I guess, whatever your personal experience with that particular Pokemon is.
But were they randomized like per individual encounter, or like all Pokemon
the one
of
we
a certain
were using,
kind?
Same species were all the same color,
right, okay.
But you could re-randomize it each time you played. So I had a few different versions of different Pokemon.
Yeah, that's not something that I'd considered. That separate from rarity, just the color itself, and not even just, oh, this color looks cool, but just this color is different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because a lot of Pokemon have colors based on their typing, so it's nice to have shinies because it gives you like some more interesting color palettes for them, even if it's not always for the best.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. The colors of the Pokemon are generally fairly predictable. The colors of the shiny can be, well, nowadays especially, because they actually like create a new texture for the whole thing rather than doing like a palette shift kind of thing. They can be whatever they want.
And sometimes it's the other way around. Like the regular version doesn't really tell you the color. Like my favorite example is Shinx. It's like blue. You wouldn't expect that for an electric Pokemon, but then the shiny is yellow, which looks really cool.
And nowadays they can do really interesting things, like with Maniac, for example, where they have
all of them.
Yeah, they're all different colors, but the shiny is also all different colors.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the color being different is enough.
Yeah, I figure if shinies were just the sparkle effect, people wouldn't really care that much about them as they do now
like
with the color.
The sparkle effect is also lessened since they changed it to a yellow star.
Yeah.
I don't like it at all. Like, it's still like, oh, it's shiny, but it's just like they've slapped a sticker on it.
Yeah.
I liked the like elegant blue sparkles. They were a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember which generation I prefer, but either the second had the stars going in a circle. That was a really cool effect.
Yeah, that one was pretty cool.
Yeah, in Pokemon Go, it's like a bursts of sparkles.
Okay.
So like it's similar to the star stamp in that it's very obvious, like very in your face, but it's also just sparkles. So it doesn't actually like cover the Pokemon when you're looking at it. But it makes it very obvious for Pokemon that where the shiny is very similar to the original color. Like
Regice. Never hunt in it again.
Or Garchomp.
Oh, at least Garchomp has the Mega, where it's very, very different.
It's suddenly pink or magenta.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of the Chinese that have very little difference, does that make them less interesting to you?
I think it does.
Depends. Because there's some of them it's like I liked the colour anyway, so it's... I'm disappointed that it's not a new colour. Like with Gengar, I'm glad that the Mega is different, but like I'm not too upset that it's still purple. I wish they'd carried over the blue tongue that Haunter had into Gengar, because that was cool. But I'd still hunt certain ones. There are some where I'm like, I don't know, because like Togekiss I keep thinking about, but I'm like, it's such a boring one. I don't know if I want to bother yet. I'll do it later.
Yeah.
But
Togekiss is basically like it's the same color, but the reds and blues are flipped, right? And it's the white is like slightly different.
The white's a little off. Yeah.
It's like, what is even the point of this being shiny? It's like, in that case, it's pretty much just the sparkle and the fact that it's rare. But you both said that you are going to, you are getting switches, or you just got switches for Pokemon Sword and Shield. Are you expecting to do a lot of shiny hunting in Sword and Shield? Do you have high expectations for what that's going to be like?
I'm hoping they have a really good hunting method, because I really like the Dex Nav, and I like the SOS hunting. I really hated the, what was it, the Poké Radar in X and Y. I did not like that. I can't get the hang of it. It never works for me.
Yeah, it was also an inferior version of the Gen 4.
Yeah, I was just like, So I'm hoping it's just something good that's not too difficult and I can kind of do mindlessly, because I do a lot of my shiny hunting kind of mindlessly, so...
Yeah, I would love to see another method that's more active, that has you put effort into it. Because I'm kind of done with the passive shiny hunting, I think. What I would like to see is just a minor change, and that's the icons for the party of the Pokemon, they never show up as shiny. That's never been a thing. Like
the little sprites.
Yeah, like in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, you have the shiny following you, and it's shiny on the overworld, but you check your party and it's still the regular sprite. That's always bothered me. And like when I'm just checking the PC boxes and I see my 3 Kingdras and I can't immediately tell which one is the shiny one.
Right.
So that's just a minor
I get
change.
that when I'm trying to delete a game when I'm done with it and I've been doing shiny hunting on it and I'm like, I've got to check every box of all these eggs I hatched just to make sure I didn't leave a shiny in here somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a good thing that in Pokemon Bank you can search by shinies. Yeah. You can search by shininess, at least. So, yeah, that makes it a lot easier to make sure you don't miss something. Do you have a preference between, like, completely random shinies versus being able to spot them in the overworld? I know neither of you played Let's Go, but in Let's Go you can tell if the Pokemon was shiny in the overworld, which, to me, was really interesting because, like, that's the way they look. So if you were actually in that world, you would be able to spot that they were shiny. And it also has the advantage where you can actually see multiple Pokemon at once. So it kind of artificially increases the shiny rate.
Yeah, similar to Horde battles.
Right.
They also had 5 Pokemon at the same time.
Yeah. So do you have a preference? Would you prefer to see it one way or the other?
I mean, I'm expecting that the Pokemon that appear in the overworld will be visible as shiny if they are shiny. But
I hope so.
Yeah.
I would find it weird if they weren't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't obviously tried the Let's Go with having them appear, but I think I would like that, being able to see them in the overworld, because I think with especially with like the Dex Nav hunting where you could see them pop out the grass, and like I wanted to see that as a shiny.
Right.
That'd be cool to see it before I encountered it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I'd want all encounters to be that way.
I think I already have that experience with the Poké Radar in Generation 4, because you are running through the grass and resetting the radar all the time, and then you see the sparkling grass and you know that's the shiny before you even start the battle. That was a nice feeling.
Yeah, Poké Radar was a good method. The Dex Nav. Auras was, I think, my favorite one. Like, it was fun to do.
Yeah, I like that.
Creeping around was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I would hope for something like that, but...
Yeah, I think my favorite method remains the Poké Radar from Generation 4. Because really, if you don't mess up, it was just patience and focus. That's all it took, and it was doable. You had realistic expectations and just needed the patience, and you could get the shiny. And I liked that.
Do you have a favorite method, B?
I do really like the Dex Nav, but I only liked it in grass because in water and caves they can move around before you get to them, and I always mess that up. I really like soft resetting because you can just pick it up and put it down whenever you want, which is kind of nice because sometimes it's like I don't know how long I'm going to sit down for a hunt because it's just like while I'm doing something I'll be like I'll just do a few soft resets on that. So I think probably soft resetting, and my best shiny was a soft reset because I got the Celebi from Crystal, so...
Oh, yeah,
that was fun.
I have my character saved right in front of the shrine. I have done some batches of soft resets for that one, but like 50 to 100 at a time. And so I haven't gotten anywhere. I also haven't gone back to it in months. So it's one of those things where it's just like, I'll leave it there. Maybe one day I'll go back. But...
I don't usually keep track of my hunts because I'm usually doing it with something else going on at the same time. But I did keep track of my Celebi because I was like, I really want to know how many it takes. I was super lucky. I got it 1,299. So it was very fast compared to what it could have been. Took me 4 days.
Full shiny odds in Generation 2 was 8,000 something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I also never really keep track of how many encounters I do. It's just I do it until I find it, and that's it. Sometimes it takes a long time, other times it's like, oh, there it is. That was quick.
Do you have a least favorite method?
It would be the Poké Radar for me. I can't do it.
Least favorite. In X and Y, the fishing was also pretty easy, but I never found it interesting for some reason.
Right. Yeah, I think I tried it like once or twice, but yeah, no, I don't think it wasn't very interesting.
The fishing one was how I got my first method shiny, but I didn't really like go back to it, and I don't consider that like my first like earned shiny. My first earned one was like with the Dex Nav when I got shiny routes.
Yeah, the fishing is closer to the wormhole shinies from Ultra.
Yeah, it's like it can get to like a 1 in 30, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
Also, it was an Octillery was my first one, so
I also had an Octillery.
Yeah. I think for me, my least favorite is soft resetting. I just find it too boring. I just, like, I can't, even if I'm watching a movie or something else, I end up paying more attention to whatever else I'm doing. And so I realize, like, I've been sitting here with this, like, just waiting to press A and start this encounter for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I do it instinctively at this point, so...
Yeah, it's very, like, method. I think for me as well, I have a thing where I can't be entertained by just one thing. Like, I'll be drawing, but I'll also be watching a video and probably doing something else at the same time. Probably soft resetting on the side, honestly. But I always have to be doing lots of things, so soft resetting... I don't enjoy the soft resetting if it's hard to spot shiny, like Reggie Eyes, because that was never want to touch that again. The funny thing is, when I saw the shiny, I knew immediately. I was like, that's the shiny. I can tell. But the whole time I was so nervous I would soft reset over it that I couldn't not pay attention to the screen. Whereas with others, I like to just do it and then I'll look down and be like, oh, it's a shiny. Yeah. It's already there. It's been twirling the screen for 2 minutes.
Right. Yeah, that was me with Froakie. Because Froakie is more different, I think, than Regice, but it's also not a big difference. So I kept worrying, I didn't see any sparkles because I wasn't looking when it hatched.
Yeah.
I think this is normal. And occasionally, having to actually pull up, Cerebi or something to look at the two and compare.
Yeah.
I always, when I'm starting a new hunt, I always look at pictures of the shiny and then watch a bunch of videos on YouTube of people finding that shiny. Because I'm just like, oh, they found it. I'm going to find it now.
Yeah, I had that experience with Celesteela recently, because you would think it's very obvious because it's almost completely white compared to the usual grayish teal color. But as you encounter it, the Ultra Beast aura flares up and it's really hard to spot if you keep thinking, wait, this could look like a shiny. Yeah. But then when you eventually do find it shiny, you're like, yeah, no, it's really obvious. There was no way I could have mistaken that.
Yeah. Just to finish off, do you have a favorite shiny fail story?
The one that annoys me, I still haven't gone back to get a new one, but I got a shiny Love Disc, and I don't actually weaken Pokemon before I catch them anymore, because it's not that hard to just catch them at full health. But I weakened it, and then realised that Love Disc can learn Takedown.
Oh.
Ouch.
Which I never would have thought it could. I was like, really?
Yeah.
Little hotfish?
Not only can it learn it learns it by level up.
But yeah, that's my shiny fail, the Love Disc. Still need to get it again.
The closest I had to a fail was a shiny Beldum in Diamond or Platinum, because you can Poké Radar hunt it in the sandstormy area, so it's already, you don't see anything that's happening, but you can use Magnet Pull, and somehow I eventually did find one anyway, but only then did I realize that Beldum has the catch rate of a legendary, and the only move it has is Takedown, so it was slowly killing itself. And that's the only instance where I did use a Master Ball on just a regular Pokemon as a shiny.
I did Beldum. I really wanted a shiny Beldum, and I wanted it in a Beast Ball, because I was like, wouldn't that be cool, because he's hard to get. So I went and caught a regular one in a Beast Ball, and I was trying to do the Masuda method with it so it would just pass down the ball. I did 3,000 eggs and never got the shiny, so then I went out and did SOS hunting instead, because I found a method where it's actually really easy to get Beldum, because it's something to do with using a ghost so they can't use Takedown, and the whole Leperberry harvest thing, so they'll never run out of takedowns.
Right.
I got it eventually.
Yeah, I guess if it can't attack you, it's not going to take any recoil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you catch it in the Beast Ball then?
I did catch it in the Beast Ball. I had to... The first time... I found two, actually. The first one... I ran out of Beast Balls because they're a pain to buy, so I only had 50 of them. And I was like, surely that'll be enough, because when I caught the regular one, I got it in 10, so I was like, 50 will be plenty. Never got it. I was like, well, Ultra Ball it is. And then I came back and did it again, and I literally maxed out on Beast Balls. I think it's 999 you can carry. And he was in the 30th one, maybe. He was like, yeah, I'll stay in this one. I also like that hunt in particular because it was the first shiny I got in 2018, and I started the hunt on the last day of December in 2017, and it carried overnight while we were celebrating.
Right.
And it also, that was one I was counting for some reason to see how many encounters it took. It took me exactly 365, so days of the year.
Wow.
So I just thought that was a really interesting coincidence.
The two of my favorite shinies, one was the shiny Eevee that is now an Umbreon that I got on Christmas Eve, and the Froakie that is now a Greninja that I got on my birthday.
I got got something on Christmas Day. I don't remember if it was Mewtwo or Yveltal. I remember getting one of those on Christmas Day.
But as far as shiny fail stories, I don't personally. My worst fail was like a Graveler that self-destructed in Generation 2.
Yeah.
So it's like it sucks, but it's like there's not really anything you can do about that. But my wife actually had a really bad one where she was shiny hunting Ponyta in Let's Go, and it took like 6 days or something. And in Let's Go, that is about 6 days too many.
Yeah.
Like normally, you can generally get it like within the same day, kind of thing. But this was over several days. No shiny Ponyta. Oh, she had already caught a shiny Doduo in that time, and like started the chain over again. And then a shiny Chansey appeared, and she went to catch it, and it ran away.
Yeah. That's one thing I don't like about Let's Go, is because it's basically a giant safari zone and everything can run away.
Oh, I got a shiny in the Safari Zone once. That was one of my first ever ones at a random encounter. It was only execute, so it wasn't hard to catch. But I remember just the feeling of like, oh my goodness, it's a shiny. Oh my goodness, how am I going to catch it?
Right.
I'm going to lose it. And it was like my second ever shiny, because it was back before I could really do proper shiny hunting, because little me didn't have the patience. Definitely not.
I think little me had more patience than old me.
I think I'd like to mention, I'm not sure if it could be called a method, but in Generation 6 there was a thing, a whole Reddit community actually, that was called the Shiny Value Exchange. And it's sort of more a muddy method in the sense that some consider it cheating, because basically what you do is you check your shiny trainer value, which is an ID that's hidden unless you have some way of getting your save file extracted from your game and then checking it with Pokéhex or some program like that. And then when you know the shiny value, if you can also check the eggs that you hatch, what their shiny values of, if they match up, that's what determines if it's shiny. So basically then the Reddit community Shiny Value Exchange had a big database, and you added yourself to it, and then everyone was making giant giveaways of like 60 Shinx. Well, I did Shinx. And then you have all the shiny values listed next to them, and then someone would come, hey, that's my trainer ID, and you would trade the egg to them, and for them it would hatch shiny, even though on your games it would be regular Shinx. And the way you could check the shiny values of individual Pokemon was you hatch the 6 eggs, and then you send them into a Wi-Fi battle, and then you save the battle video and then soft reset the game, so they are still eggs, but the battle video file is on the SD card, and you could check it on there with a program or something.
I don't know if I would consider that cheating necessarily, but it is like gray area because it relies on some external factors, like things that you can't actually access or see within the game.
Yeah. Basically, you are, instead of trading it to 4,000 people and checking for whom the egg will hatch shiny, you just look at the value and then find someone who has that value. And the other thing was when you hatched, when you bred a certain Pokemon and you wanted it as shiny, maybe there was someone with that shiny value, and you just had to contact them and let them hatch it for you and trade it back.
Right.
So there was an entire community aspect to it, but the thing is, it was only as useful as long as the community was big enough.
Mm-hmm.
So if there was no one doing it, you couldn't use that method.
Right, because it relies on that chance matchup of the two different IDs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me think of the, I think it was in the Gen 4 games, the Cute Charm glitch, where you could, like, get certain values, but most people who try it, I think they, like, cheat for one of the values so they can see it or something, so that they can get it started. Kind of want to try that one sometime, but the setup sounds like a pain.
I haven't heard of that one.
It's to do with, it's some bizarre thing to do with your trainer ID and your secret ID, and then you get a cute charm Pokemon, and some of the Pokemon that it attracts with only specific natures will have a high chance of being shiny for some reason.
Yeah, because all of these things are tied to the personality value, which is one long string of numbers. So it's all part of the same formula, basically.
The shiny exchange did remind, like that method did remind me of the Magikarp trick in Generation 7, where you could hatch Magikarps because they're really fast to get to the point where you would find a shiny, and then reset the game.
And switch out the parents.
Change to the parents, and then hatch that same number of eggs, and you'd get the shiny at the same spot. I think I tried that once for something that was very high hatch time, like a pseudo legendary. I don't remember what it was because I didn't actually complete it. It was too much work.
I did breeding for what's it called? Shiny Fione. That was fun. I don't remember how long that one took, honestly. It took a while.
That would have to be essentially just a full odds hatch?
Not if you're doing it with Ditto from a different, like a foreign country.
Right, you could actually Masuda method Fiona.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It still takes a while because they're really slow to hatch and stuff, but it was a good one. I think as well because I always forget about this, but it's not just Manaphy that can have a Fione, it's also Fione that can have a Fione, so you actually can get your good IVs and everything.
Mm-hmm. Not that that's particularly helpful for Fione.
I want good IVs on all of the ones that I do in eggs now, because I might as well.
Fair enough. All right, well, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you both for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thanks for having me too.
You guys can check out Charon and Bee on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, DeviantArt, and personal website. There's lots of different places where you can access their content. The links are all in the description. And thank you guys for watching. Make sure to let us know in the comments if you have any additional thoughts here, if you have preferred method, what your thoughts are for Sword and Shield shiny hunting. Put that in the comments. I hope that Charon and Bee will join me in responding to comments as well. And if you enjoyed watching or listening to this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, whatever the platform that you're watching or listening to this on allows you to do. Thank you again. I'm Umbreon Libris. I'll see you in the next chapter.